All right. So Dezie, officially thank you for having this conversation with me. I really do
Welcome.
appreciate, you hopping on this podcast. This you're a wellness advocate. I'm sure you would appreciate what I'm about to do now. But one of the ways I like to start the conversations is by performing a quick mindful practice. And you're aware of what that is, right? Mindfulness practices. So how I'd like us to start is by taking 3 deep breaths. And as you do so, set an intention for how you want the conversation to go. Cool with that? Good. Ready to
Hands are
go?
down,
Awesome.
and then I'm ready to go.
All right. Awesome. So Dezie, how I'd like to start is by asking you to share um like a background story. You can go as far back as you want to, you know, and share like pivotal moments along the path that led you to what you're doing today.
Okay. Um. So for me, it's really far back, as long as I remember secondary school. So I went to a secondary school in Lagos, and luckily for me, my school was a school that had a lot of extracurricular. So we could develop things like creativity, emotions, social intelligence, and all that while in school. So I realized for me, I wasn't so um, accepted because, fortunately, unfortunately, it was a school for rich people. So I wasn't so accepted because I wasn't in the class in terms of economy. But then something was able to set me aside, and that was I had brains and I had words. So I used to write poems, I used to write stories, I used to write very good essays. So even in the midst of not being rich enough, I was smart enough, I was creative enough to be accepted in groups. So I remember knowing that as a young child, I knew that my gifts, the things I could do, would always make room for me. So that was the first discovery. I think that was in year 7, so JSS 1. As I got older. So as at SS3, this girl who is unpopular became the college captain. If anybody in my set can remember, nobody was happy because I wasn't popular. But then all the teachers liked me because, well, I've been a teacher's girl forever. And each time I stood on a stage to speak, the whole place would be quiet. And I didn't really think I was that good. I didn't even realize the impact of speaking to people. But I noticed that anytime, so even teachers would drop their pen and just be looking at me. And I was able to be college captain. I did medicine though. So when I got to medical school, this part of me it just died. It died because I wasn't doing anything about it. I stopped speaking because I left Nigeria, I was in Ghana, and medical school was just a lot. I had to just bury myself in the books. I tried starting blogs, but I would do 2 or 3 posts and then I would give up on it. And 2021, yes, I lost my mom. So when I lost my mom, I remember during the burial, everybody kept saying, so my mom's name is Chizobam. So everybody kept saying Chizobam died empty. Chizobam died empty. And I lost her, she was 54. So it didn't make sense. Like, she died empty. She was not even old. And I started to understand that to die empty means that she gave her all. So in our world now, people think that's silly. Like, oh, don't give your all and all. But I realized that that was one of the greatest compliments. She died empty. Everybody had a piece of her. And I started to probe, what does it mean to die empty? And I realized that there were things I've been hiding, things that have suffocated. If I don't bring it out, I will die so full of them. And that was when my journey started. It was in that period that I actually started to take God more seriously. And for me, what drew me closer to him was that he was more interested in me dying empty than I was interested in dying empty. And then he started to open my mind. And I started to have flashbacks of school, how I used to write, how I used to speak, how I used to convince people. And then that was it. And I started asking, so how, because I did medicine, I'm a medical doctor, how do I go back? I can't go back to school. I will go back to school for masters, but then I can't go back. My 6 years has to mean something. So I realized that I can incorporate it into medicine. I have a wider view of things. I appreciate people for who they are before diagnosis, outside diagnosis. So that's how I started writing, speaking to people, and then the whole wellness thing came because I realized that the people is just emotional, mental, physical, relational, financial. And then that's that. So that's been the journey since. So for me, it's wellness, but then I'm using every other thing I can find. So if I can write, I'll write about wellness. If I can speak, I'll speak about wellness. If I can draw, I will draw wellness. And also for me, that's been my journey.
For sharing that. And first of all, I want to say condolences on losing your mom. Um,
And
my mom's name is actually Chizoba as well.
really? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, oh, that's
Not
nice.
there's no
M
M at the
is
end.
the
It's just
same,
Chizoba.
is the
Yeah.
same. Oh, wow.
True.
Wow. Can you imagine? Wow. Wow.
Um, I would like you to speak on, if you don't mind, can you speak on, because I feel like she was one of your major influences. If I'm wrong on that, correct me. If so, can you speak on how she was influential to you and the other like mentors or influences you've had on your journey so far?
So my mom, she was a major influence, aside that she was my best friend. So my mom actually studied geography in school. So she studied geography education. But I never knew because when I met her, well, when I met her was when I was aware of her, as you know, when you're aware of somebody as a human being outside your mom. She was a top banker. My mom didn't have a master's degree. My mom didn't do anything aside. If it was actually few years before she died that she tried doing masters, but then she got a diagnosis and said, you know what, life is short. I'm not doing masters again. And just seeing a woman who left Anambra State one night, entered the night bus to go to Lagos and start as a teller in a bank, and then rose to become a COO of a top bank and all that. I started looking at her. And if you notice our culture, most times the first daughters are very close to their moms. So you start to hear nuggets from her. So my mom will tell you, go into a room and speak. Everybody needs what you have. Somebody needs it in the room. Don't stifle your voice. And her CV was not the most impressive because she went to village schools. But she'll say when she stands to speak, nobody will ask where your school is. It's the substance you're saying. So my mom was major impact because she guided me, especially when you're not a popular kid. Your mom is your best friend. So she guided me. She taught me how to just balance life, how to balance family, how to prioritize. Not everything is important, even when we think things are important. And then she just made me so confident. I remember things like feeling bad about, honestly, being dark. Because I remember people would call you like Blackie, Big Eyes, Apollo Eyes, those kind of names. And I wasn't feeling beautiful. And when I would tell my mom, she'll see me trying to change something. Maybe if I'm looking, I'll be doing like this to look at somebody so they will see that my eyes are black, are big. And she'll call me, what are you doing? Why are your eyes like that? I'll say, Mommy, my eyes are big. And she, do you know how beautiful you are? And she should take you into a room and say, look at yourself. Is there anybody like you again? I'll say, no. That's why they are fine and I'm not fine. She'll say, if only you can see yourself. So, things like that. So I started to realize, and for me, my mom was the epitome of success. Like she was the picture of success. So if, in quotes, losers were calling me ugly and this successful woman says I'm beautiful, then I have to be beautiful. So I think just seeing her as a strong woman, so it was not like I saw her as less than the people that were, name calling me. So she gave me confidence. She gave me confidence. Secondly, she was attentive to everything. I could say something like, oh, in 10 years, I will own a private jet. And I just said it in a discussion. My mom remembers. She remembers the day I said it. She remembers what I was wearing. She remembers the date. So when I start behaving like what I did not say, she'll remind me, you once said this, the way you're acting. I used to tell her things like, I will do this, I will do this. And then there's some days I discourage myself. She'll say, when you were young and you didn't know anything, you knew this thing. So in the innocence of your mind, if you could think of this thing, that is who you truly are. So that's one thing. And just watching her grow. So for me, one of the things I learned was that I'm not held back by qualifications. I'm not held back by limitations. Once it's in my mind, I will do it. And there's always somebody in a room who needs and will appreciate it. But that's what she taught me. You just need one person to agree with you, and you're fine.
I love that.
Yes, and then her
I
deaths
love
also
that.
made a lot of impact, a lot of impact. So I always tell people that her life made an impact, her death made an impact. And what I'm doing now, it's kind of me honoring her every day. I tell people I have mentors, but none has struck me like my mom, because having a mom who is vulnerable and grows in front of you, dies in front of you, leaves words with you, and the words still echo. I appreciate my other mentors, but my mom, she has the special place in my heart. For other mentors, I've had a lot of mentors, but because most times they're not personal mentors; these are professional mentors. So the personal thing does not, it doesn't grow. But I have professional mentors. What I've learned from them is staying. So most of my mentors will tell you things like, "You're starting, stay. When I complain, this thing is not going like this, just stay." So having people that have passed through this phase, and it's almost like they can tell my next step, they can tell what the next growth will be, it's been encouraging. So it makes me feel like I'm not crazy. Two, I'm on the right path. So, so I think that's the importance of mentors now for me.
Love that, and I love how you honored your mother with that response. I kind of jumped the gun here. Let's go back to your story. You had
Okay.
spoken about secondary school being someone that loved to write, and use your voice. How did that lead into you studying medicine? Can you tell that story for the audience?
Okay. So in secondary school, I was if you were in secondary school with me, you probably wouldn't like me. The reason is because I was a teacher's girl. The one that when you ask question, me, and then the one that if you say I have an assignment, has anybody done it? Even if nobody has done it, Adeze has done it. So that was me. What happened
Oh,
is
wow.
that although I liked writing, I liked speaking. Because of the educational system here, people are more interested in your marks. So it's like that is a hobby. This is the real you. So you're doing well in sciences, you're doing well in your calculus, in your maths. So people forget that you can write and speak. So it became like Ada is smart, writing and speaking is her hobby. So when we're going to the senior secondary school, that's SS1, they asked me what I wanted to do. Now, because I'm a teacher's girl, I get the honor of being asked, what do you want to do? Many times people just enter any class, but they're quite interested, like, oh no, you are a shining star. What do you want to do? So I said I wanted to do literature. Hey, if you see their faces, it's like, we cannot waste you. So they called a meeting. So this meeting was my principal. My principal was, in fact, she was going crazy. What do you want to do in literature? This. And then, I was telling her about Chinua Achebe, Wale Soyinka, Shakespeare. I mentioned a few other names, Dan Brown, those people. And she was like, who are those people? I said, no, you know Chinua Achebe. She said, yes. But I'm sure if they had the opportunity, they would have taken it. Do you know, I realized that Chinua Achebe was supposed to do medicine. So he actually had my opportunity. He didn't take it. But I didn't know that then. So that would have
Really?
been a good argument. Yes, I wish I knew that then, but I didn't know that then. So they called a meeting. And so my mom was in the meeting, my dad was in the meeting, and they told my parents that, see, you're investing a lot of money on this girl. If she does literature, that's a hobby. It won't bring anything back for you. But if she does medicine, she'll be better there. And then she will use literature and the speaking to relax. That's what they said. And then my mom and dad, they felt, okay, this is a good idea. We don't have a doctor in my family. And all the other children, they didn't look like they wanted to do medicine at that point in time. So they took the option. What I'm grateful for though is that as a science student, I was the only person allowed to do literature. So I remember they allowed me to drop some courses and I replaced them with literature courses. So when you have other science students in class cracking their brain, I'll go to my literature teacher and one on one we'll do a literature class together. So I'm grateful for that because it also made me really develop fast. So I used to be the best literature student, even when you bring the art students on board. So that's how I moved from writing to medicine, because they made me believe that those things are hobbies, but it shouldn't be a career. They're supposed to be a relaxing sport if you've had a hard day in your career. So that's how I moved to medicine.
Very interesting perspective. Um, y- Using what's it called? Using that as a relaxing thing after a hard day.
Exactly. Can you imagine?
So it's interesting to see that you've kind of gone full circle with it with the wellness thing now. You know,
Yeah.
you write about wellness and all that. So like I said, you've gone full circle and now doing something that was, you know, dear to you and your interest as a child. Yeah. Okay. So I think that kind of segues into the next set of questions I want to ask about purpose. So the African Mavericks platform it aims to promote independent thinking and purposeful living amongst young Africans. Um, I still need to find a sexy way to say that. Um,
No, it sounds good when you say, but it sounds perfect. Independent
okay,
thinking
I'll take
among
that.
Africans. It
I'll
sounds
take that. I'll
daring.
take that.
It sounds daring.
It's it came from a daring place. Let me put it that way. It came from a daring place. I can share that story later. But the whole idea is like you just shared in your story. You were a kid that had the passion and interest for writing poetry and all that. But somewhere along the line, you were discouraged and dissuaded from taking that route. And you ended up doing something that wasn't your own independent thought. It was something that was put on you. And, that was kind of like my similar story as well. And having conversations with other Africans and seeing it still in my family, I see that it's something that's still going on. So this platform is kind of like my little way of promoting the idea that as we need to think about what it is we want to do and bet on that truth.
Yes.
I feel like in doing that, we could change the narrative some way. So, back to the question though about purposeful living, how would you describe living purposefully?
So for me, living purposely, it goes back even before somebody was born. The reason is, I always say that human beings, we are naturally solution provider. We're naturally solution providers. And I don't think it's something that just dropped in our heads. I think it's because of where we are coming from. So every time I see a new person being born, the question is, what problem is this person coming to solve? And that's where purposeful living comes in. For me, purposeful living, it's living every day to make something better, or living every day to doing what you were supposed to do. So and I always say it's not a destination. It's not like there is just one purpose, but then it's a daily living thing. So today, my purposeful living might be doing my chores. Tomorrow, it could be going to the orphanage. Next tomorrow, it could be we're doing a podcast recording with you. So purposeful living is just that daily choice to make sure that you being alive matters. And not just to you, but then to someone else. To me, that's purposeful living.
Love that. I love that. And um, how would you like what steps do you take to discover that? Or yeah,
So the first step I took was acknowledging that I wasn't satisfied. You just have to just admit there's a time you just get and just say, you know what, there is more. If you don't get to that step, you won't start anything. So you hear everybody that has a great story tell you that one day they just got really uncomfortable, or they just got really dissatisfied with what was happening. So if you don't get to that, if you don't do that first step, you probably won't be doing purposeful living. And then that's my first step. Acknowledge there is more. I am unsatisfied. What could be wrong? For me, because of my belief, I now go back to the drawing board. So I have this an analogy of if you buy a car and you don't know it's a car, you don't know how to use it. What do? You go back to the manual or you go back to the car manufacturers and say, you know what, this item you sent, what was it? What is it supposed to be for? So I'll have to go back to my manufacturer, my creator. What were you thinking when you told me to come to this world? And for me, that's why it's hard for me to do without God, because I keep saying he didn't just vomit me out of his system. He brought me here. So he has my manual. He created me. So I'm asking him, why did you make my nose like this? Why do I have big eyes? Why can I write? What's your plan? And the thing about God I notice is that he won't give you the full picture many times, because you will run away from your full picture, because you've been limited by society in your thinking. So he won't give you that full picture. But daily, daily, daily. And that's when you start to live purposefully. You might not have the full picture of what you're doing, but daily you're discovering something new about yourself. Daily you're having new relationships. Daily you're daring. So the first step, acknowledge there is more. Second step, go back to the manufacturer. The third step, do. Do it. If today you wake up and you feel like going to the beach and sweeping the beach, do it. The first step, don't be ashamed of your journey. That was something I had to learn. Like, there were times I used to hide, because if you call me and tell me what am I doing, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't even explain it. But then don't be ashamed of your journey. So speak. When you speak about it, people start to help you. The fourth step, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. I keep saying it, keep doing it, just keep pushing. Every day you sit back, you might be frustrated, but you'll be grateful for at least one thing. Just one random thing just comes to your mind that, oh, today I was able to push a blog post. Today I was able to, connect with people on LinkedIn. And to me, that's purposeful living. That's purposeful living. The thing is, at the end of everything, it will just make sense. And then you can get to a state of self-discovery, like you've discovered yourself, you've actualized, you've settled into your new identity. So for me, those are the steps. Acknowledge, go back to the manufacturer, do. Don't be ashamed of your journey. Share it with people, because in sharing, people will open up and share their own experiences with you. Keep doing, keep improving, keep pushing. That's it.
I love that answer. I love that answer a lot. Two things I want to highlight from that is one, the not being afraid. I mean, ashamed of your journey. That was something I learned. Um, that's a very significant lesson I've learned on my journey, and it's even one of the reasons why this platform exists. I was at some point in my life I was lost. Let me put it that way. And you know what comes with being lost? The kind of emotions that come with being lost. You're depressed,
Mm.
you know. And the thing is that from the outside looking in, you think that I'm living an amazing life. But
Yes.
me that was going through it, I was like, man, what's going on here?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I felt, I felt kind of shame and guilt in sharing that part of myself, like, because I felt like people would understand me, like, bro, how are you feeling this way when your life is like this? But in
Hmm.
finding the courage to start sharing my story with people, I came to see that one of the things I learned is that I'm not the only person going through this. I'm not a person that's going through struggles. Everyone has their own struggle in their own way. And also, like, pain is subjective. The fact that it's a person wearing the shoes that knows where it's
It
hurting.
hurts.
So that's what kind of gave me the courage. And I think that's where the download to start this platform came from, to have that
Exactly.
conversation with fellow Africans, about their story. And another thing he said there that I would like to highlight is he said at the end of the day, it would all make sense, right? I actually shared a post today on LinkedIn about, like, working in a I don't know if you've seen it yet, but working in a Italian restaurant, the kitchen of an Italian
Yes,
restaurant.
I saw it. I saw it. And where you learned how to make your spaghetti, your perfect
Exactly.
recipe. I told you, I'm following you.
I'm very proud of that. But thank you for highlighting the spaghetti part because I'm very proud of that. Like everybody that's eating my spaghetti has testified, even down to my parents. So I know I'm doing
Me the
something
recipe
right.
after this, please. My spaghetti is becoming
Okay.
bland. It's becoming one way. So let me try your recipe.
Okay, for sure. I got you. I got you. But one of the things I had mentioned there was a quote by Steve Jobs. He was like, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking back. So you have to trust that your journey would eventually make sense. So it's I liked how you had culminated everything purpose into having that trust that it would all make sense in the end. Just
To
keep
the end.
showing up for yourself, keep doing, and keep being intentional about your actions. Yeah.
Yes.
I was going to ask about independent thinking, but since we're on this, let's talk about lessons that you've learned over time. What would you say is the most valuable lesson that you've learned on your journey? If there's one, if there are two, if there are three, please share.
I can do all things, literally. I can
Okay.
do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Doing this podcast is literally one of I can do all things. I realized that somehow society boxes you, and then you hear, I can't do this, I can't do this. But when life pushes you to an uncomfortable place, when life boxes you, oh, you realize that there's so much in you. There's so much in you. So my lesson is so I don't say no again. Like you literally can tell me now I should come to your place and teach, and I'm thinking, okay, how can I do this? So now I've learned that I can really do all things through Christ that strengthens me. So it's not more a Bible verse to me, it's actually a lesson. So that's one lesson. That's one lesson I've learned that I can like there's so much in me. If, sometimes I have this out of body experience and I'm like, is this or that? And then I wonder, so if I never did this thing, I would never have known that this was me. So that's one lesson I've learned. Secondly, that um, how do I put it? You are not one person. And I think that's probably why when we are going through this phase, you lose relationships because people are used to you as one person. But then I'm now accepting that I am a lot of people in one. It's just that when the situation demands, a part of me comes out. So at first, probably I used to be I used to be shy, I used to be introverted, I used to like to be at the back. And then suddenly I'm coming to the front, I'm making posts, I'm talking to people, I'm trying to convince people. That would be uncomfortable for someone who thinks I am one person. But for someone who understands that we are human beings, but we are different people in one. So I'm just learning to meet the different sides of myself. So maybe today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm more critical about things. Next tomorrow I'm just zooming in. Another time I'm writing, and that time I'm appreciating fashion. I just realized that I'm everything in one. It just depends on what is drawing the a trait from me. So I think those are the two things. I can do everything. I can do everything. Tomorrow I can be a builder. I can be a mason. I can be a carpenter. I just have to put my mind to it, and then of course through Christ that strengthens me. Secondly, I'm not uncomfortable to admit that I am different people. It just depends on the scenario and what problem I'm facing at a particular time.
I love that answer. And something I want to highlight from that is you may have said it in passing, but you said you're learning to meet the different versions of yourself. I love how you put that because it's something like we think I don't before we started this call, I had shared one of the quotes that drives me, which is and the unexamined life is not worth
So,
living, right?
yeah,
In and in living up to that quote, right, I've come to see that there are certain versions of myself that in a million years I wouldn't have told you like this part of me exists.
exactly. It's funny.
I was fortunate to meet that version. And when I met the version, I was like, oh, wow, I actually like this version of
Like this
me.
version. Exactly. I like my new versions. I'm like, what was I doing all these years?
I love that. I love
Honest.
that. Um, so let's still on lessons. What, let's say there's, I want to believe that you've had opinions, right? That, have changed over time. Opinions about anything, success, life, what it takes to live a good life, whatever it is. But what is one opinion that you held strongly that has changed over time?
Money and stability will make me happy. So it's something I always thought. I just thought more money, stability would make me happy. But now I realize that,
Good girl that you are.
apart from the Igbo girl, I don't like suffer. I don't like suffer at all. So I just felt, okay, if I have a good car, if I have, and yeah, so no, three things: money, stability, and the low, what they call that life, the low key life. So have money, have stability, don't disturb anybody, don't challenge anything, just keep quiet, go to your house, spend your money, come out. I thought that would make me happy. But when I started getting restless, as you said, all the things that will happen is that you leave your job. Then I stopped having money. Yes, my husband, he's supportive, but your own money is still your money. But when I stopped having money, I started realizing, so what truly makes me happy? I don't have a stable job. I don't know where my end of the month salary will come from. I don't There are days you don't even know what will happen at the end of the day. When you are on this your self-discovery and trying to make impact, you don't know what your week is going to be. As at last week, I didn't know I was going to be here by 12 a.m. on a call with you. So there's no stability when it comes to trying to discover yourself and trying to carve a niche for yourself. And of course, you're going to challenge the status quo. You have to challenge the status quo because you start to realize that not everything is correct. People are just being lied to. And then I realized that I'm happier. I want money, don't get me wrong. But then I realized that there's a whole happiness outside money. And there's a freedom knowing that money doesn't dictate your mood again. And in fact, it doesn't dictate your impact again. So that's one thing I'm learning. For stability, I know I'm getting to a level of stability now where at least I know this is what I'm supposed to do and all that. But then stability doesn't make you happy. In fact, sometimes it gets boring. And then, of course, I don't mind challenging the status quo again. I don't mind having enemies. Having everybody as friends, it doesn't really make everybody happy. So I think that's one of the opinions or three in one opinions that have changed. So if you ask me, money or living a fulfilled, purposeful life, I'm telling you, and I'm not lying, I will live a purposeful and fulfilled life to money. Because when you have money without the purpose and fulfillment, you feel so empty. I have felt restless before. And I tell you, I would prefer to just live a purposeful life. Of course, with the money too.
That part.
Yeah, I still need the money, but in terms of priority, the money goes down.
As the icing on the cake. As the
Exactly,
icing
it's
on
the
the cake,
icing on
not
the
the cake.
cake. Exactly. The cake, exactly.
Love that. Love that. So can you share like an insignificant moment in your past that it turned out at the time it didn't seem like it was something significant, but in looking back, it was like, okay, this actually was a very pivotal moment of my life.
So remember, I said in secondary school I was the only science student doing literature. Remember, I would sit down with I still am in contact with my literature teacher, and then I'll sit down with her, and then she'll just look at me and be like, "Oh, you understand this too?" And she's like, your mind," because okay, you did science, right? For those of us who did literature, we had this book where it would analyze all the poems, all the fiction and everything, all the literature, to just analyze it. And the plan was you read it, and during the exam, you're supposed to walk around what the book says and then vomit. Well, they say don't copy, but you're basically, if the book says the theme of this is happiness, maybe you write excited feelings, that kind of thing. But I never wrote, it was like as if I was writing my own book. So you see how for other students she would just mark. For me, she had to read because it's like we're seeing this thing so differently. And I didn't realize it was just her letting me know that I have a different perspective, which still makes sense. So it was recently I just realized, I was talking to her one day on Instagram and then she goes, "Have you written a book yet?" And I'm like, "Did I ever say I was going to write a book?" She said, "Yes, I said it." And she told me that my book will be a different kind of book. And I was like, "Oh wow." I didn't even realize, like, it was so insignificant I didn't remember. And then now I realized that, somehow this thing, it really makes sense. Another significant, insignificant, now significant, was someone saying something. I like wearing African wears. On a typical day, you see me with an afro or my hair in a twist. So I remember someone saying something like, there's a creative side to you, and that's why you dress like this. You just I just like dressing like this and all. So it's now that it's making sense. Everything from the way I speak, from the way I dress, what if you take me to a salon, what I would look at first. It's all pieces of my life that I just felt, I like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. And then those insignificant things have now become part of the clues that my life was living for who I'm becoming.
Interesting answer. Interesting answer. It's interesting that what you said is you see me to fro. I was picturing what that looks like.
So this one comes out like maybe 3 times a month. Most times I'm on my afro or my twist.
Nice, nice. I just an aside, as you can tell, I love the
I
natural.
was supposed to have dreadlocks this year, but I couldn't
Eh?
see through. So I think I'll leave that for another time.
I'm happy to say I've influenced my two younger sisters and my mom to lock their hair up.
Mom
Actually, I'm
loved that. So I think
uh,
we just have to wait on your dad.
nah. Nah. If that one happens, I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to
Eh,
bleach. I'll bleach myself.
he's a true son of the soil.
Like,
Yeah,
think you say that. Interesting you say that because guess what my last name is?
the last name.
Wana. Now, guess what that means? Son of the soil.
The soil. I just
Son of
realized
well, son of the ground, but in our family we say son of the soil.
the soil. Makes. Oh, you see what I told you?
Desi, there's something that is in you that's, you know, you need to
Come out
explore
one
more.
day. I
You need to
know. I
explore more.
know. I
You need to explore
know.
more of it. Just from the conversation we had off the record and now, like,
Mhm.
yeah. But thank you for sharing those significant moments. It kind of leads me to the next set of questions, which is around challenges you faced. You had touched on how, you know, quitting your job and not knowing where the and not relying on, how do you call that thing again?
Stable
Dependable income.
salary.
Yes, stable salary. Thank you. I'm sure that's been challenging, but could you
Is it
speak on
challenging?
could you speak on the challenges you faced on your journey so far? Any significant ones that you faced and how you went about addressing them?
My first challenge was trying to convince people. I don't know why I thought I could convince everybody to see what I was saying. So I spent like days, when someone messages you and says, why didn't you come to work? I was not explaining, I have a dream, I have a purpose. And then you see the person just logs out because it's- and
I only asked you why you didn't come to work.
see now it's funny, but at that time you're so desperate to get like a word of approval. Like someone will be like, "Oh, you have a dream. I see it. I see it." So I just didn't explain to different people what was going on with me, and I honestly wasted valuable time. So that was my first challenge, trying to convince people. The second challenge was so if you grew up like me, who is an outcast, who was an outcast, you realize that you kind of crave this people acceptance. It pops up. So even if you're grown past that, you always kind of crave people accepting you. So just that was one thing I had to break out from. So the first challenge I was convincing people. Of course, nobody was convinced. But this is what happened. The people who were more important to me were convinced. I remember coming back home and telling my husband, I was like, I'm quitting my job. I thought he would go into a fit. And they said, okay. I said, won't you ask what I'm going to do? I said, he's always known there's so much more about me. So he's excited to see what will happen. And that has been his stance. So even when I'm like, should I go back and make money? He's like, are you sure? You won't be happy. Continue this thing you're doing. So I realized that there are only very few people in my life that honestly need to know. And those ones, naturally, it's like as if they're also waiting for you to wake up. And they're like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. So that was my first challenge, trying to convince people. My second challenge was trying to find my my tribe. One thing I didn't know, so unfortunately then I didn't have a mentor, but one thing I didn't know was that you're supposed to start and then your tribe comes. But I was so concerned with people. That was wasting my time. You know, if I see someone talk about wholeness, I'm like, hi, me too. I have a dream. I have a purpose in this wholeness. And they're not my tribe. So that was one of my challenge. Then another challenge was now trying to convince my audience. So if you remember when I messaged you, I was saying that Africa is kind of hard for me to push what I want because people have this their own way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I noticed that people prefer drugs to lifestyle modification. So you're talking to a pre-diabetic and say, "Oh, lifestyle." The person says, "Is there any drug to bring down the sugar?" Okay. So those are my challenges, and surprisingly, my challenges has to be people. People. First was convincing the wrong people. Secondly, finding the people who understand enough to be convinced. Then thirdly, now convincing my audience that you need this thing. You need it. It's better than the option you have. That has been my challenge over time. How have I been
Interesting.
able to get through it? For convincing other people, I realize that honestly, they don't care. They don't care. They're just waiting for the results. So
Right.
exactly. The second challenge for the tribe, I just realized that the more I'm going, the more I'm seeing people who have the common interest. Like now, I realize that me and you just have like the same interest, and it's easy for me to speak to you and you understand it because it's like, oh, it makes sense. It makes sense. I didn't have to put it in your face that, oh, I have a dream, I have a purpose. You know that embarrassing speech I was giving to people. And then the third one for my audience, I realized that in convincing them, I'm developing every day. Yes, I'm able to convince many of them, but some of them, I just learned that you can't convince everybody. The fact that people have a problem that you can solve doesn't mean they're your audience. Not everybody that has the problem that you can solve that is your audience. So I'm learning to invest myself in the ones I can help, and the ones I can't help, I'm learning to still give them something to work with. But I'm learning to just prioritize who is my audience and um, who is just there.
That last bit was like a sales master class right there. At least for that was one of the biggest things I've learned in my sales journey. Because I don't know if I know this, but prior to this phase of my life, I was in tech sales on the business development side, particularly. And there was always that pressure to want to anybody that picks up the phone, you want to convince them like, yo, you need to have and I just learned that no, like my job is to look for the people that want what I have to offer. That's my job. Not trying to convince anybody to
Mhm,
want what I have to offer.
mhm. I know. It's heartbreaking, but
Thank you for saying that because that's the challenge, accepting that truth was the
yes,
challenge for me. It kind of still
honestly.
is,
Yes, because you know
every
what you
day.
have is good. So you want, and especially if you're not money conscious, you're also like conscious about the person. Like, I know what to do to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to stress. I'm willing to offer this. And he's like, no, I don't need it. So now I'm learning to, when you say no, I just pack my bag. So thank you so much, but check up on you once in a while, okay? I'm learning to just take the nose to and move on.
In time, here's something you can be reading.
The way they take the thing you give them is like, oh, okay.
All right, let's talk about thinking, independent thinking.
Okay.
Um, how would you describe that? Thinking independently. What does it mean to you?
Thinking two things, either thinking as a loner, but I'm also thinking outside limitations, as outside the normal. So my thoughts are not dependent on what every other person is thinking. My thoughts are not dependent on my society. My thoughts are not dependent on what people think is normal.
Okay. Okay. What would you say are some of the traits of someone that is an independent thinker?
Person is a loner half of the time. The person is and highly misunderstood. So that's one of the traits. Thirdly, many times I think at first the person is withdrawn because the person doesn't even understand why they think like that. But then when the person decides to come out, the person really comes out because the person is not listening to any other person. I know this and I know this and I know this, and I'm tired of shutting up. Right? So I think for me, yes, I noticed at first they're really quiet. They're the people that stay at the back. They're the ones that they don't talk during meetings. But the day they realize who they are, they become the master of the ceremony. But many times they are lonely people. They might not be lonely in other aspects, but in terms of where the career is and where their thoughts is specialized in, they are loners. Yeah.
Interesting. Um, can you give share a story or an example of a time that independent thinking played a role in your life and how it led you to maybe a unique solution or solving a problem?
Let me think. It has to be in the clinic. So I was working in the preventive health clinic before I finally quit my job. And, usually what happens is that if you are a doctor, you know that you're being timed. So it's not like there's a time on your head, but they'll tell you like, oh, 15 minutes per patient, 20 minutes per patient. Me, I can spend 1 hour on a patient. And it's just because I really like people. And this is genuine. It's not like I love people. So independent thinking was me saying that I'm going to stay with this patient and we're going to talk. And I realized more than half of my patients didn't need medications. Many times they just had emotional issues. They were lonely. And that was it. So I remember we used to laugh and say things like, you can go to a desk clinic and you won't get medicine. So in fact, sometimes the pharmacist would tell me, I should just write supplements, please. Like they didn't need medicine. The person was just stressed. And all that. So exactly. So that independent thinking, it kind of changed my approach to medicine, but it also made me who I am now. Because now I realize that you can't look outside. You can't just look at the person coming with a diagnosis. There are a lot of aspects that are contributing to this diagnosis. And many times, and I'm sorry this sounds really annoying to doctors and pharmacists, many times people don't need drugs. Many times they don't need drugs.
That sounds like a Dr. Sebi, a proponent of doctor. You know what that is, right?
Oh, but let me hear who is he?
Sebi, he's a very one of the popular like natural health and holistic health advocate.
I said I never wanted to sound like those people because some people still need drugs. You see, that's where the middle ground is.
Made me think. That's what when you said that, that's where my head went.
Please bring your head back because I fight with
You're
those
like
people too. I fight with those people too.
in the middle ground.
The middle ground.
The ground of first of all have a lengthy ass conversation with these people to figure out where they
Get to
are.
the exactly get to the root of the matter.
Mm, okay.
For me, it's always get to the root of the matter. Get to the root of the matter.
Interesting. All right. So what impact do you hope to leave with what you're currently doing now?
For me, I want people to get to the place where they realize that they can have it all. Society has made us believe that for your career to thrive, maybe your health has to go down, your family has to suffer. But that's where I come in when it comes to wholeness, that you can actually have it all. That's the first impact. But the second impact is that I want people just to be more intentional about living. So, and this intentionality is not just career, but even about your body health, even about your friendships. So the two things, I just want people to know that you don't have to sacrifice something to get something. And I just want people to be more intentional. Like I'm happy when I see people, I get like random texts and so, doc, I'm now sleeping 8 hours a day. I'm like, because when they came, they were like, oh, I couldn't sleep 8 hours a day. I'm too busy. I have meetings. And by the time we walk around, I told the doc, I sleep 8 hours a day. Oh, doc, I'm no more doing this medication. I'm like, okay. So I just want people to just know that, like, you can have it all, one. Secondly, that you don't have to give up one thing for the other. And then thirdly, intentionality in life is what matters. You don't have to be perfect, but that intentionality, I want you to be more intentional. I'm a bit biased about health because of that's where I'm coming from. But then even in every aspect, relationships, your money, your purposeful living and all of those things.
Okay. Interesting. And I love that answer. It leads me to the next question I was going to ask,
Really.
yeah, which is, what advice would you give like the younger people around you? What advice would, if they wanted to follow a similar path or just based on the things you've learned on your journey, what advice would you give to the younger people around you?
Hmm? The first one, know God. I tell like people, if I had known him, I was a Christian, don't get me wrong, or I was born a Christian. But knowing God as an intellectual being, it changes everything.
Ah,
The first thing is know God. Knowing him as intellectual, intentional. It's changed my life. Then the second thing is know yourself. That's one of the problems. People don't know themselves again. So everything is a trend. Everything is cool. When you know yourself, you realize that you are so cool on your own. Nothing moves you. And you won't, and then the third thing is learn from people's experiences. So for me, I say grief, betrayal, it brought out this part of me, but I didn't have to go through this part. It would have been easier if I had probably known God, known myself. Three, learned from others.
see, that kind of brings us to this next section of fun, unconventional, sort of philosophical questions. Yeah.
Okay, let's try that
All right.
combo.
So, yeah. So, imagine if your life was a book, right? What would you call this current chapter?
Oh, I have a fiction book that I'm writing. Well, I'm done writing, so just looking for a
Okay.
publisher, and it's actually from this chapter. So the title of the book is Ijowa, Why We Walk the Earth.
Oh, wow.
So yes, Why We Walk This
Okay.
Earth. And I
Okay.
think that will be
Interesting.
the title of my life now. Because the literal translation of Ijowa is the journey, like Earth's journey. Exactly.
EJO.
So
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
uh, yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Just an aside, have you tried self-publishing?
Um
Have you looked into
I'll
that?
tell you the story. Let's just say that the reason why the book is not out is because I got a self-publisher. That's the reason why
Okay.
till now I'm still with the book.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that later. Actually, I would connect you with a friend of mine. He's on the same path as yours. He's actually a mindfulness coach. He just moved
Oh,
to
I love him
Ghana.
already. I'm in
He's moved
Ghana.
to I know that's why I said I'm going to connect you with a friend of mine. And
Nice.
he actually wrote a book as well, published a book, so I can connect you guys on that on both fronts, on the writing book part
Nice.
and on the mindfulness wellness thing. See how you
Exactly.
guys can collaborate over there in Ghana.
That's a perfect connection.
Yeah, yeah, I will do that. Um, so yeah, so imagine your life was a journey, right? What vehicle are you traveling in, and what does that say about your approach to life? Now, the
Now,
vehicle could be anything. It doesn't have to be, it's not limited to cars. It could be planes, bicycle, trains, ship, whatever it is. What vehicle?
down a bicycle because there's a lot of stops and it feels like I'm just taking one person after the other. Yes. So I'm in that place where I'm working on one person per time, trying to, of course, keep a track record, trying to build a clientele. So I think my journey now, I'm riding a bicycle. Can a bicycle take one person? It can, right?
With
So
handlebars,
bicycle. Okay,
they will
so
just have
bicycle. I'm
to
riding. Should we go
you just have to
motorcycle?
stand.
Oh, I don't want the person standing. So let's say motorcycle.
Okay. You want them to be as comfortable as you.
Exactly, yes. So motorcycle.
Okay. All right. That's an interesting answer. Nobody has said that so far.
People say plane.
The most I've gotten is train for
Why train? Why do people say train? Give me
for
one
different
reason.
reasons. Okay, one person, her name is Dezie as well. Dezie. Her reason for, and she calls herself Dezie, but it's Dezy. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Um, Her reason was because trains have multiple stops, and also in a train there's the carriages where you can talk with lots of different people, and you can get to see their own point of views and all that, you know.
okay. That's a nice view. I think me, I'm just concerned about the people I'm driving. I don't think I can do so. It means one per person, per person, per person. When I drop you, then I carry another person. Continue my journey.
That's fine. To each his own. To each his own. So if you could describe
Train.
your journey so far in a fruit or a song, with a fruit or a song, which would you pick and why?
So bad with songs. I don't even know songs again. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I'm thinking of a fruit now. Hmm. So which fruit has a surprising element?
Is in the elephant. The first
Oh,
thing that
you
came.
know,
Okay,
this
go
fruit
ahead.
called abalumo.
What I was gonna say. That's what I was going to say. I swear to God.
Yeah. Oh
That's what I was
wow.
going to say. I kid you not.
Hey.
Amaluma was what I was going to. Yes.
So I think that's what this journey is, because it's like you don't know whether it's sweet, you don't know whether it's sour when you open it.
That's interesting.
Wow, that's interesting.
That's it. Like mines, like mines.
Honestly, I didn't even think you wouldn't think of that fruit. I thought you'd probably think like kiwi or maybe orange, like one of those mindful fruits.
Nah. Okay. Story about Abalumo.
You have
Abalumo
a
is a fruit
story.
that is, yeah, that is dear to my heart. Why? Because growing up, we used to go to the village every Christmas, right? And there was this big Abalumo tree, like right in front of our gates, like big. You couldn't hug around the tree. That's how wide
Serious.
yeah, that's how wide the trunk was. And this was every day was like, it's one of my favorite pastimes. Most of the kids in the village, especially the city kids, would just come and
Mm,
hang out at the tree and try to stone
yeah.
Abalumo off the tree.
Oh, were they always sweet? Was abalumo always sweet?
But sweet some words, so that's why, I
It was
know
abalumo.
Abalumo very well.
Exactly, exactly, exactly,
But you have to
exactly.
sit through the pain. You have to sit through. If you get one that is not sweet, you have to sit through it.
Never really throw the bitter ones to away.
No, that's what
Exactly.
I'm saying. If you get one that is not sweet, you have to sit through it.
Just
Like you
have
have
to.
to
Yes.
endure it. Yeah.
Right. And maybe turn it to chewing gum.
That part. That part. That part. Like you eat about chewing gum that normally you eat chewing
No,
gum for like 5 minutes and you swallow it. But about chewing gum, you can chew that thing the
just
whole
chew
day.
it,
You
chew
still be
it, chew
chewing
it.
it.
I know. It
Chewing it,
doesn't do
chewing it,
bubbles,
chewing
but
it.
you're just chewing it.
Yeah. Well, the sad part of that story is that years later, we come back one time and they had cut down that tree.
Can you imagine? Why would you cut down a tree
Like,
like that?
I was like, why? Why? Like, like they
Why?
built anything. It's not like they built anything there. It's
Just
just
cut it.
we don't appreciate, like, I guess, we don't appreciate things like that, conservation you know, but yeah,
Memory.
about the model.
But Agwalomo. An
Um,
English name?
so I think it's called something cherry, if I believe, if I remember
Oh,
right, something cherry. I looked it up one time. I
okay.
looked it up.
I think I have an assignment now. I'll look up.
Just African star apple.
Agwalomo sounds nicer.
Yeah, yeah, what is African star apple?
Oh my goodness.
So another question. If you could witness any event from the past, present, or future, any event at all from the past, present, or future, what events would you pick and why?
I didn't witness it, but I wish I could witness it,
Mm,
relive it. I think my
Any
mom's
event?
passing.
eh,
I wish I knew. I'd have been more intentional about saying goodbye. I think that's the only regret I have. I think so.
So if you could have a 1 hour conversation with any historical African figure, 1 hour conversation, dead or alive, it's like you already have that person in mind.
No, you know.
Okay, so who is this person and what
You
why
can
would you want to have
guess.
the conversation?
Who you can guess.
Say your mom?
Oh, how many have
No.
conversations we have?
See,
So
let me see that. Can I have another guess?
yes.
Achebe.
Yes. When he died, I was like, I never got to meet this guy. I thought there would be a point in my life I would meet him. So I think for him, yes, but Achebe.
Conversation of being, or what's the question you would have wanted to ask him?
Biafra, like I asked every old person about Biafra. Yes. Then the whole medicine switch to writing. I think that would have been the two. And just generally Africa. Because you see, this thing you see about Africa, he saw it. He spoke about it. So I think I'll be interested in hearing, like asking him,
Okay.
like, so where do you think we are? Are we going backwards? Are we going forward? The dreams you had about Africa, do you think we're still on track? Things like that. And of course, his writing is oh my god, it's timeless. I can read his books over and over again, and I always wonder what was in his head. Like, how does he write these things? So I always have that conversation, and of course, Biafra. I have Biafra conversations with every elderly Igbo person I see.
Speaking of that, an idea that just came to mind is like recording those conversations for
Hmm.
posterity reasons. Because yeah, Biafra is a significant part of Nigeria's history that,
Exactly.
you know, I feel still plays a role in in the politics of Nigeria to today. And I feel a lot of people in our generation don't have an idea about what that was about. They are just
That
going with they're just going with the trend of the argument of the day.
propaganda. Exactly.
Mm. Yeah, it'll be interesting to do that. It'll be interesting. Maybe that's a project we can both work on.
Should and do a proper documentary. They should showcase in schools, because somewhere, somehow, our identity can still be traced back to that world. Especially if you are people trying to find your place in the world, every history, your identity is somehow traced there.
Very true. Very true.
If you notice, most Igbo people they feel easily attacked. So if you don't know your history, you just think you are easily attacked. But then we feel easily attacked when we go to places that you don't see Igbo people.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is rooted in that war.
All right. Kid, what are you sipping?
So it's lemongrass and mint tea.
Okay. Cheers.
Yes, what's that? That's Lipton.
It's hibiscus tea.
Oh, okay.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big tea drinker. Big tea drinker.
I used to be a big coffee drinker till I started becoming healthier. So now I've switched my addictions to tea.
I was never a fan of coffee because
I was.
it never. The only time coffee would mess me up is like when I take it late at night and I
Oh,
take a
I
lot of
loved
it.
coffee.
I start getting jittery because I want to sleep but I can't sleep. wake up in the morning and take coffee is like doesn't do anything. I'm still
Wake
tired. That's
growing up,
still
I just then I thought intellectuals like drinking tea, and everybody said coffee. So just seeing them take their glass and they will smell the coffee. That's why I like coffee. And then I just became hooked. Things I did as a
did,
child.
did you used to drink the coffee with milk and sugar or black?
I was just suffering. I was doing black.
I think that's the best way to do it. That's how I used to
At
take mine
first,
too.
at first I was like pretending to like it. Because I just felt like intellectuals are supposed to like coffee. Later, it became an acquired taste, and I started enjoying coffee.
Yeah. So the last question I have is if you were given, well, last set of questions that I have planned. If you were given unlimited resources to tackle one of Africa's problems, which problem would you address and how would you go about doing it?
To be one problem, right?
Just one problem, rather than
Education,
plenty.
education, and this is not further mass biology, but proper education. Like I'll just build a facility of unconventional education and just teach,
Education
yeah,
of the mind.
exactly, and just teach people how to be actual human beings, like not just living, but actual living. I think that's
Yeah.
what I'll do. Of course, wholeness will come in because it's part of it, but it will be education.
Okay. Interesting. Interesting. So usually I ask a guest to give me a question they want me to ask the next person I have on the show. So I have a question for you from the previous guest. But before I
Mm.
ask you that question, what question would you want me to ask the next person I speak with? Noted. All right. So the question from the previous guest, his name is Chuchu. Um, yeah, Chukudi.
My brother's name, my only brother's name.
Really, we're so
It's
many
Chukudi.
namesakes over here.
No, I know. Do I
Many
call him Chuchu?
namesakes.
Okay, I call him Chu.
Chu, okay. Well, Chuchu's question was it was kind of related to the last question I asked you about solving a major problem, but his question was, what sustainable ways can Africans boost their economy? Boost our economy, sorry. In your opinion, what are sustainable ways that you think Africans can boost our economy without intervention from the government or without
Mm.
relying on the government?
African government or international government?
Government, any type of government intervention.
Mm. So I'm looking for the right way to put it. So the first one would probably be hold on, I'm trying to get the right way to put it. So erasing this intertribal, inter-country, interracial, all these biases, erasing them, because yes, in as much as we know the government is giving us lots of issues, but somewhere between ourselves, we have not yet accepted that we are one. So I think that would be one. Then the second would be people actively trying to pull people out of the well. Because why I give that example is that it's worked for Eastern Nigeria, where you have this apprentice program and all that. If Africa can take it as a whole program, I think it would work. Because the Eastern people, they have done without government for a long time.
Mm.
Somehow just realizing that one, this is my brother, it has helped. Secondly, training the next generation, it has helped. And it's what is still keeping us.
See. Okay. I love interesting
Training means
approach.
giving them money sometimes. So
That part.
yeah, exactly. Like training, settling them if you have enough. So instead of just your family, you can take maybe somebody you see has potential, train the person, settle the person if you can.
Well, Desi, that brings us to the end
It's
of.
fun.
Thank you, thank you. I enjoyed the conversation as well.
Awesome interviewer.
You. Thank you. I take that wholeheartedly. And you're a very insightful interviewee.
Thank you.
Hey guys, so there you have it. We've come to the end of the episode. I really hope you enjoyed listening to the conversation as much as I enjoyed having it with our guests. If that's true, please go ahead and like the video, share your thoughts in the comments because we would love to hear what you think, and also share this with a friend. We believe one of the best ways this channel is going to grow is through word of mouth marketing or peer-to-peer sharing. So please go ahead and share this with someone who you feel would find it just as valuable as you did. And also subscribe to the channel because why not? You want to be you want to stay in the loop for when we drop new content. So go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And last but not least, we've got some merch. I'm actually wearing one of our t-shirts with our slogan, Bet on Your Truth. So go ahead and head to our website. The link is in the description. While you're there, if the spirit leads you to cop one or two things, or maybe even more for yourself and your loved ones, please go ahead and do so. So that's it for now. I remain your host, Ebuka Wana. And until next time, I wish you more life, more love, more blessings.